Starlink has agreed to comply with the government of India's security and localization requirements. Welcome to our weekly news show here at Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb Friesen, your host, and this happened in Starlink's recent meetings with India's Department of Telecommunications, and accepting the DOT's requirements is, of course, a necessary step for Starlink to secure a GMPCS license for satellite broadband in India. Now, it is worth noting that this is in principle acceptance, so Starlink hasn't submitted anything formal as of yet, but they do want to be operational in India, so it's very likely that this informal agreement will later translate into something more binding in the future. Starlink first applied for the GMPCS license in October of 2022 and also sought approval from the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center that's InSpace, and InSpace chairman Pawan Kumar Goenka confirmed that InSpace has requested more information from Starlink, and there's an ongoing conversation that's unfolding. Now, in the meantime, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, or the TRAI, is working with stakeholders to decide on the spectrum allocation and pricing for satellite services. And once the TRAI finalizes these recommendations, which is expected to happen before 2024 is over, India will begin rolling out satellite broadband services. So we could very well see Starlink being available in India by 2025 itself. Now, speaking of the government of India, you might remember a short video I made a few weeks ago about how Piyush Goyal, India's Commerce and Industry Minister, wanted to set up a new Silicon Valley of India, but it wasn't clear at that point where this was going to be. A few of the top comments suggested that it would be in Gujarat or Indore or Vishakhapatnam, but it turns out it's actually going to be in Goa. Piyush Goyal envisions this mini Silicon Valley of India in Goa as a thriving hub for global capability centers, or GCCs, which are basically specialized offices or teams that a large company sets up in another country to handle tasks like IT support, finance, research, or customer service. And it looks like this plan is already underway. Piyush Goyal spoke at an event called Amazing Goa Global Business Summit, and he said that 23 industrial estates in Goa are already drawing investments, offering opportunities for both global and domestic investors to collaborate on and develop projects like data centers, high-quality semiconductor development, and advanced electronics and automotive production. All right, next up in the news, just a quick little update here. Stoa School is shutting down. This is after 4 years of operations, and Raj, one of the founders of the company, shared this news on X, with the sentiment from people replying being generally positive, with most people congratulating Stoa School on their journey. Now, the reason for this shutdown was outlined in the post itself. Raj said that the interest in online education has dipped post the pandemic. Basically, consumer preferences have moved towards offline education again, and Stoa School wasn't interested in offering offline education. Their original mission was to be online, and they weren't ready to compromise on that mission because, quote, the economics of that move going offline would lead us, Stoa School, to a place we stood against. Now, in other X-related news, Chopra, the founder of Wingify, showcased the second batch of his AI residency, Turing's Dream. And in case you haven't heard of Paras, he's a solo founder who bootstrapped Wingify to FY24 profit after tax of 61 crore rupees and revenue of 289 crore rupees. So Wingify is a SaaS company that's built a visual website optimizer for increasing website sales, signups, downloads, and conversions. And now let's talk about Turing's Dream. So Paras highlighted 9 founders in the batch, and I want to talk about a few of them because these are some of the top AI founders in India right now who are building solo. And so I think it's worth mentioning. Actually, I'll just cover all of their names. Why not? So first up, we have Aditya Kolavi, who built OmniParse, a library that converts unstructured data into structured data for LLMs. Then we have Dev Rajput, who's trying to make photos 3D using diffusion techniques so that people can take pictures and then walk into them in 3D space. Raghuvamsi Valagala built a robot to do something that was thought to be impossible, teach an old dog new tricks, and now he's printing robot arms and using reinforcement learning to teach it manipulation. Sachin Darashivkar used to work at JP Morgan using reinforcement learning to execute large volume trades, and now he's exploring security flaws in AI chatbots using reinforcement learning. Shubham Sharma is interested in solving dexterity problems for robotic hands, and now he's building a VR app for Oculus to collect data from human movement and then map it to robotic joints. Siddharth Balyan is trying to help make LLMs better at generating generating log-QL queries, and Sudharshan Babu is trying to solve AI filmmaking. Surya Madula is a high school student who's building an open-air noise cancellation device called Whisper Wave that you can keep on your desk like a speaker to detect and cancel out ambient noise, and he has a patent on this device. And then finally, Arjun Balaji is working with the UPI team to detect money laundering using graph neural networks, and he's also working with a Harvard team to map MRI images over time to 3D space and see how brain structures change. Now, speaking of Harvard, a team of 4 third-year engineering students, including 2 from Hyderabad, 1 from Kerala, and 1 from Tamil Nadu, won the Best Hack Award at the 36-hour annual HackHarvard with their sustainable AI-powered app. This app is called Sustainify, and they were competing against more than 1,000 students from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and the University of Toronto. Now, these 4 Indian students are attending Amrita Vishya Vidyapita University in Coimbatore, and according to one of the students, Krishna, Sustainify helps users lead healthier, more sustainable lives by allowing them to scan food packaging to see detailed nutritional information and assess if it's a healthy choice based on their medical history. And one interesting fact about this story is that even though they had 36 hours, they actually finished Sustainify in 13 hours. All right, next up in the news, and this is just a quick little update here, astrology startup Astrotalk is making a lot of money. For FY24, they did consolidated net profit of 100 crore rupees, which is a 1,080% increase from their FY23 profit of 8.47 crore rupees. And this huge increase in profit was driven by their revenue increase, which grew by almost 130% year over year to 651.12 crore rupees. All right, next up in the news, this is a photo that I never thought I'd see. You've got Dipinder Goyal on one side, Sriharsha Majety on the other side. This was posted by Ghazal Alog on X to celebrate Swiggy's IPO, and the startup ecosystem has really come out in support of this public offering. Even Zomato congratulated Swiggy on Instagram, posting this photo with the caption, "You and I in this beautiful world." And the replies are also pretty interesting. Swiggy replied with, "It's giving Jay and Viru." Netflix said, "Ye pyar dosti hai." Coca-Cola said, "Greatest of all friendships." And HDFC said, "Friendship is in the air." I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. But anyways, Swiggy's IPO is officially over now, and the stock price is going up and down. It's going to continue to go up and down in the future. This is just what stocks do. But I think the big story here, at least for me, is how much money Swiggy employees made from ESOPs, because more than 500 Swiggians or Swigites or Swigsters, I really don't know what they call themselves internally, but they're going to become Crorepatis thanks to this public offering. Now, it is important to note here that this is just for the time being paper wealth. That's why I say they're going to become Crorepatis, because right now they're not liquid Crorepatis. This is all sort of tied up in the value of the company and the market cap, and that can go up and down. So with ESOPs, there's usually a 1-year lock-in period for ESOP sales. Stocks can go up and down in that 1 year, but in the case, we're actually lucky here because the company's gotten an exemption from SEBI. They got this exemption back in July, which allows Swiggy employees to sell their shares 1 month after the IPO. So as of now, technically those 500 odd employees are paper Crorepatis, but as long as nothing goes catastrophically wrong in the next couple of weeks, they will be able to sell their shares and become actual Crorepatis, which is amazing. All right, now let's move to the funding news segment for today's video. This week, Indian startups raised $127 million, which means that this is the second week in a row where the amount raised is below the trend line. But now let's take a look at some of the companies that raised venture capital this week. So first of all, we have Pune-based Sarvagram, a rural credit provider. They raised $66.89 million, and they're at the top of the list. That's the only reason why I mention this, because I don't find it that interesting, but the next company I do find interesting, the E-Plane company. They're building an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, the E200X, and they're based in Chennai, and they've raised $15 million to continue their R&D, and they're also planning to do manned trials by mid of 2025. There's also another drone-related startup that raised capital this week. This one is based in Bengaluru, Airbound. They raised $1.7 million in their seed round, and they're building logistics delivery drones. And as always, links to this Notion database, as well as the chart that you saw earlier, will be linked down below in the description if you want to go check it out for these companies. But that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. So with that said, I'm Caleb Friesen, and this has been Backstage with Millionaires. Thanks for watching.